Startuprad.io, your podcast and YouTube blog covering the German startup scene with news, interviews, and live events.
Hello and welcome everybody. This is Joe from Startuprad.io coming to you today again from a very, very hot Frankfurt area. We are expecting to crash the 30 degrees Celsius today. It's going to be damn hot. Nonetheless, I do have Danko here with me. Hey, welcome.
Hello.
Totally my pleasure to have you here because you're a very interesting guy. You are a brain researcher turned entrepreneur and working on machine learning. And we'll get through this interview and at the end have a few ideas how machine learning can profit from your research and what your very interestingly named startup, Robots Go Mental, actually does. But first, I would like to thank our enabler. This recording is supported by HTAI, Hessen Trade and Invest, and the Enterprise Europe Network. These organizations have made tremendous contributions to helping startup businesses succeed and thrive, providing a range of services from helping to find grants to ongoing partnerships. By taking advantage of these resources, startup companies can network and develop innovative strategies for success on the international stage. The dedicated support of both entities is paramount in providing startup businesses with the tools for lasting success. Look for our dedicated sub-podcast in partnership with them called Tech Startups Germany. Now that we do have this out of the way, as always, I've been looking through your CV and I've found it extremely interesting. You have been teaching at the Technical University Darmstadt statistics.
Yes.
Nonetheless, it takes quite a special person to really love statistics and even teach them on university level. And we have to say Technical University is one of the top technical universities here in Germany, maybe even in Europe. So they don't take anyone as statistics teacher. Then you became a group leader. But the interesting twist here is in brain research for the Max Planck Institute. Can you take us along your journey, how you came from statistics to brain research? Because then it kind of makes sense how you ended up in machine learning and artificial intelligence.
Yeah, gladly. So thank you very much for having me here. It's a pleasure to be here. So the story is a little bit different. So I was teaching it at TU Darmstadt only as a side gig when I was already at the Max Planck Institute. So it was happening in parallel, right? But how I came to the brain research is a story that starts.
Okay, let me get this straight. You've been at the same time a brain researcher and a statistics teacher?
Yeah.
Okay, because everything I think about brain research is always about biology, but apparently you can also apply pretty much statistics. Sorry to interrupt you, but nail this. It's quite uncommon.
There is a lot of statistics in brain research. Trust me. Like when you get all this data, when you record all these brain signals, you have to know what to do with them, right? You have like a bunch of numbers in your computer and you have to analyze them. You have to understand them. There's lots of statistics, believe me. Right?
I was totally fine with all the statistics I've been taught in Germany and the US. Mental high five to Professor Owen from Midwestern State. By the way, he was the only one who made it really entertaining. Disclaimer, I've never attended your lessons.
No, don't worry. And also statistics is, in many ways, statistics is understood as a discipline that preceded machine learning. Right? So machine learning somehow built on top of statistical research, statistical analysis, inventions in statistics as well, right? But that wasn't really my story. Right? My story was that I was first interested in artificial intelligence, like back then. Realized that artificial intelligence is struggling doesn't have a good solution. There is no good way of emulating human brain in a computer. And that's what triggered me to try to understand the brain. So I started with studying psychology, getting PhD in cognitive psychology. So kind of first understanding the brain at the level of behavior, and then say, okay, now I understand that kind of. Now let's go into the brain. Then I went to brain research. That's where I needed a lot of statistics, and then after that, as I don't know if you mentioned, but then I went to industry, right? After some time at the Max Planck Institute.
I would be curious, how was the interview with HR there? Because for everybody, we do have quite a vast audience in Europe, where Max Planck Institution should be pretty well known. But for all the thousands of people listening from abroad, Max Planck Institutes are one of the premier basic research institutions in Germany. So you simply can't tell, I go there, you have to do your undergraduate studies, your graduate studies, your PhD, and then do some impressive work that they will consider you. I do believe the vast majority of Nobel laureates in Germany is associated with the Max Planck Institute.
Totally.
And then you go there to a lady who studied towards HR. And what did she ask you?
There is no HR at Max Planck Institute, believe it or not. It's actually an academic.
No. When you went into industry, I was curious. How did the interviews go?
In the industry.
Yeah.
Well, quite well. Having coming from Max Planck Institute opens a lot of doors, right? And nobody asks any more question whether I'm qualified to do statistics or machine learning. This is kind of assumed that you know. The questions that HR would in industry ask was like, how much do you know about industry specific things? Like, do you have experience with customers and things like that? Which I didn't, right? So I had to learn this type of things. But the competence, they don't question. They just respect.
We should also give a mental shout out to the place you did your PhD, because it's not too far away from where I studied. They have a very well maintained rivalry with the university. I attended its University of Oklahoma. Did you, by the way, eat a lot of Oklahoma onion burgers? Sorry, guys, the heat is really getting to me here.
No, well, I did eat some burgers, but I'm not great fan of burgers, I have to admit. So yeah, occasionally, but nah, not too many.
Not too many. Great. So we've been at the place we shifted into industry roles. What did you do there? Because I do believe they would be very happy to have you in any team working on machine learning.
Yeah, exactly. Also, machine learning is one big topic, and the other big topic is statistics in general, data analysis. This is also what industry needs, what companies need, and this is what I could help with, right? Quite a bit. Right? So anything that has to do with lots of data, trying to understand the data, systematize, get insight into data. This is where I could help quite a bit. But also then, of course, machine learning coming up with ways of machine using the data. Basically, that's what machine learning is. Taking lots of data, compressing the knowledge that this data contain into a machine so that the machine could make some predictions or decisions and things like that, right? So these two things, right? I started basically as a data scientist. That's what the job is described today. Right?
I see. And then you got into several positions. I see research fellow, head of AI, senior AI consultant, a lot of different positions, in startups, in tech companies, also in research institutes, for example, Frankfurt Institute for Advanced Studies, all gearing toward, different areas, but always, kind of put together by either psychology, statistics, or both of them. And then you started Robots Go Mental back in 2016 here in lovely Frankfurt. But first, how did you get the name?
I was looking for a cool name. And there were a couple of companies that I ran into, and I thought, they have a cool name. I would like to have a company with such a cool name, right? One of them was, what was it called? Incredible Machines. I was like, that's a nice name. And a couple of others I cannot remember now. So I was like thinking, I switched on my creative mind for a while, and it took me a month or so to come up with something interesting. But also, the domain had to be available. That's also another challenge that you have, right? And when I came up with that, I was very happy. Interestingly, the first person I told this idea to didn't get it. It was like, what? I don't get it. So not everyone finds the name interesting. You do, many people do. Maybe, I don't know, 50%, 60%. But other people some people just don't get it. So the idea. So it's a 50-50 job.
Okay, and what do you guys are actually doing there?
So we have developed a new machine learning algorithm, right, which was inspired by my understanding of how the brain works. Right? So if you compare the neural networks in computers and neural networks in the brains, human or animal, there's one big difference. Right? The brains in computer, once they are in production, once you train your neural network and you put it in production, you don't train it anymore. It's not allowed. And it's a really bad idea. Some people tried, and it always ended up with a disaster. And a famous example is when Google put one language model out and allowed it to learn while people interact with it. The model very quickly became racist and had all sorts of bad behavior because people provoked it. People knew it's going to learn, so they actually intentionally trained it, gave it bad things, because that's what humans do. And the model was helpless.
Yeah, it became human, right?
That's what being human. It provoke everything. And, you try to break things, and the model was helpless against mean humans. And today you don't do it. You don't do it anymore, right? That's even legally forbidden for autonomous driving machines to have training while the car is driving for similar reasons. Right? Now, mathematically, I can explain to you statistically, mathematically, why this is the case, but let's skip this part. Let me just tell you that we solve this problem, right? Because human brain is not like that. A human brain can learn. We learn as we go, and it's not a total disaster. We're not perfect, but it's not such a disaster.
May I just say the bottom line is you developed a new machine learning algorithm that is training itself while it's already in production without going mental, being a total dickhead, or putting out all crazy kind of stuff and fantasizing, I do believe is it called in some models, right?
Yeah. You said it right. So,
okay, can you tell us a little bit about this? Because I do believe a lot of AI and machine learning people, C-level executives in different companies, their ears are now really perking up here.
Okay, very good. They should. So, basically, the reason why human brain is not so susceptible to manipulation and to random inputs is that we have internal control of what is relevant, what is not relevant. We can direct our attention towards learning. We can make decisions, what we pay attention. We know what is important, what is not important. We know where we want to go, right? The classical AI algorithms do not know anything. They are just completely open. Just teach me anything. I'll take anything. Just give me data. That's practical for some purposes. It's a disaster if you have very small number of data points, and if these data points are somehow not what you want to learn. Right? So we have developed a way to guide deep learning, to guide neural networks. Right? So there is another layer of parameters, another layer of knowledge, which knows what is allowed, what is not allowed, what could be done, what shouldn't be done. Right? Basically, each parameter in a neural network has its own parameter telling it whether it should be, how much it should be allowed to learn. Right? And the most part of the network is not allowed to learn, only some parts. Right? So what we have in addition to that, we have an algorithm that teaches this guiding algorithm. Right? So there are two levels of learning, basically. First, you have a phase where you learn how to learn, how to direct your learning. And after that, you can go in production and learn safely and know where you're going and being directed and not being open to any kind of random input that you receive. Right?
If I put it in my very, very layman's term, you put a parent in there, because I do have a toddler here at home, and if he's not supervised, he'll do all crazy kind of stuff. Not to mention, he has like a little shopping cart, in which he sat backwards brushing his teeth or stuff like this. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. So basically, you develop kind of a parental algorithms for toddler AIs. Is it something like that?
It's whatever is left in us after we have been parented, right? So, like, you get parented, but then after that you internalize these rules, and you're like, you don't do this. No, that's a no, right? So these internalized things we give to the network, right? Yes, that's correct, right?
I have one question before we proceed. Would it be possible that because a lot of people, this is not necessarily like a coding deep tech podcast per se. We try to keep it on a very Bonnie level. Could you, before we proceed, kind of split a little bit for us what you mean by talking about AI, machine learning, and deep learning, because they're not necessarily all the same, even though people use them interchangeably.
Yeah. Okay. So machine learning is a discipline on how to make machines learn something. And it's a very general discipline. There's lots of different algorithms, lots of different ways to make machine learning. Deep learning is one subset, is one set of algorithms. There are many more that are not deep learning, but deep learning is the most popular one. Everyone talks about deep learning. And the reason is is that deep learning is exactly open to learn anything. And you can expand the number of parameters. You can expand the amount of knowledge practically infinitely. And it will still keep learning. It can just take anything in itself. The price is that it requires lots of computation, lots of data, but it can learn anything. That's exactly the problem we needed to solve, right? Now, AI is a term that you refer to in a popular way in a resulting machine that you have built. Right? So you put some deep learning, some other machine learning algorithms, you put some other algorithms that are not machine learning and yet are AI algorithms. You put everything together, you pack it, you make an interface, now you have an AI. Right? So that's how I see it, how I understand it.
A lot of people who are out there own companies, work for companies that would profit from a new AI teaching methodology, algorithm, like you said, when they can still learn when they're in production. The thing is, let us get a little bit through that by first telling what you are allowed to learn, what not, and maybe where you drew your knowledge from to do that. And then we could expand into where you think theoretically this could be applied, because my understanding is you develop the algorithm, but it's not broadly applied yet.
Yeah, that's correct. Actually, the challenge we have right now is to find the right use cases. Right? So it's not the same. One step is to create great technology, and the other step is to find the great use cases for the great technology. And you can really be sure that you have a great technology, but still it takes time and it's still an effort to find the right use cases, to find the right market fit. Right? And that's our challenge right now. And I think we have lots of examples in other technologies as well. Like the first computers, people did not know how they will use it. They knew they have some amazing machine that can do so many different things, but how exactly it's going to be used, they didn't know back then, right? They didn't know that we are going to use it for word processing or Excel sheets, or it took time to invent those. I know computer games, and I don't know. Right? Similar happens here with large language models. We are still searching the right use cases, although we have some amazingly powerful machine there. So the same challenge robots go mental is facing right now: find the right use cases. And we have identified several potential ones that we are working on. Right, for example, a car that is adjusting its visual system constantly while it's driving. Like, for example, when you are driving on a sunny day and suddenly you enter a tunnel, the laws of visual shades, the lightning, and so on completely change suddenly, right? And what our human brain does, it adjusts. It takes a few seconds until you can see clearly when you enter a tunnel, right? The AI solutions that we have today, they don't adjust. They have no capability of adjusting. Right? With our solution, it should be possible. Right? Similar thing with when you have, say, conversation. When machine has a conversation with humans and has to listen to people's speech. Different people have different accents, right? And we adjust to accents. Right? So when I start talking to you in the morning, like the first few sentences, you may not be really, it would be hard for you maybe to understand because I have a unique accent, right? Which comes from my Croatian language. But after a few minutes, you get adjusted and then you can understand.
Oh, Danko, don't worry. Before 10 a.m., I barely understand anybody. I'm not a morning person.
Okay. So, that's another use case, right? So we are looking for those, and the challenge is to find the right market fit.
Mm-hmm. Can you talk about industries? We just talked about self-driving cars. I do know there was a lot of AI involved, for example, during the development of the COVID vaccines to end the pandemic. Talking about healthcare, biotech. Would you think your algorithm could also be applied there? Financial services and so on and so forth.
I'm sure it can be, but how exactly, I don't know yet, right? But what we have a very nice piece of evidence that the algorithm can be applied there, because we have performed one project together with NASA exactly in this field. And what we did, we trained a neural network to learn how to deal with RNA sequences. Right? So you basically, one general problem that is relevant for biotech industry is to process RNA information. You have a sequence of nucleotides, and you need to work with that as an AI solution. Now, like every other AI, you need a lot of data. to train anything. But NASA had 6 mice only in space, and they couldn't increase the amount of data because it's just prohibitively expensive. And you just can't pay, I don't know, 100 million to send another 600 mice in space. So they had to find a solution how to train the model with RNA coming from 6 mice in space, and they had it at the same time as a control 6 mice on the ground. And they had to train the model with it. So they discovered us, we worked together, and it worked. It worked. So we could use the Earth, a lot of massive Earth data to train the model to learn how to learn. And then after that, it could deal effectively with just 6 data points from space. And we wrote just a paper recently, so one can find it.
Of course, we link it down here in the show notes on our blog post. You'll find it at Startuprad.io/blog. And I was curious. So your model was basically your algorithm was first applied to teach the other algorithm how to learn?
Well, there are 2 algorithms. One algorithm that knows how to learn, but this one has to learn first. So there's the first an algorithm that teaches the second algorithm how to learn. And so there is a hierarchy of algorithms. Like you said, the parent
I see.
and the kid. There's a parent and the kid. The parent algorithm
And the toddler.
And the kid algorithm.
I see. Very, very interesting. So, everybody who'd like to learn more about your algorithm, we'll link down here in the show notes. First, your company website. Secondly, your LinkedIn profile. As always, we will be ending with a few questions. First of them, are you looking for talented people, HR, new hires?
I'm looking for talented people all the time, right? There is, it's great pleasure to find talented machine learning people. They are not easy to find, I have to say. And every time I discover someone, it's a great pleasure to work with them, right? And if there are any, say, PhD students interested in a project, people who have finished PhD interested in a great project, please contact me. We have really interesting problems to solve, right? that are academically interesting, commercially interesting.
I would be interested. You're likely not looking for the normal coders here. Are you looking more for people with a statistics, computer science background, or do you look more for people with a psychology background?
More statistics / machine learning, which includes, of course, a lot of computer science understanding. Right? That's the rarest breed. These are the hardest to find. Right?
That is already pretty good. Would you guys be open to talk to new investors?
Yes, definitely, yes.
Yes. And the last question, this is supported by Hessen Trade and Invest and the European Enterprise Network Hessen. You would now have the chance to address a question, a concern, an idea for improvement for the state's startup scene. If you could address those decision makers, what would it be?
Well, one experience I had by starting a company was that in general in Germany and in Hessen, it's very hard to start a deep tech company like we are. And deep tech basically means that you have to develop a technology before you have a use case, before you have a market fit, before you have a customer. There's a lot of work behind that. And my feeling is that this is really hard to get in Germany. And that's probably the reason why we see most of the companies that come out with such successful concepts are not coming from Germany, but from United States. From UK is also much more effective in that way. And we somehow, it would be really great if we found a way that works in Germany for deep tech, right? It's not just, there is a lot of talk about deep tech, but there's not lots of, it's not coming out really in a great way. We don't have a list of great German or Hessian companies that have actually brought new AI technologies to the world. And everybody's trying to just pick up whatever is using and just go and make a business model, which is great, which is of course useful, but it's not how you become a leader, right? We need to become a leader, and to become a leader, you cannot do it with the system the way how it works right now. I don't know what is broken. It's not only the government. The governments can help a lot, but also I think it's generally mindset. I don't know. Also, investors are generally don't have the stomach for such risks. They would like to go quickly, have your customer first, and then we'll talk. And fine, reducing risk is fine. To become a leader, the world leader, that's not possible that way. Right? That's my message. Find out a way to become a leader, world leader, and help us to become a world leader. We want to be world leader in the technology, in developing fundamental technology for AI, and help us. And we did get a small grant from Hassan. Thank you very much. But we would need also some bigger support. If not, we'll fight. We'll keep fighting.
Awesome. Danko, it was a pleasure talking to you. Thank you very much. I really enjoyed the interview.
Yeah, me too. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
That's all, folks. Find more news, streams, events, and interviews at www.startuprad.io. Remember, sharing is caring.